As I mentioned, this board has a very, very large task to make sure that our laws are being enforced and to make sure that the aggrieved victims perhaps have a place of refuge if they need to talk about whether their rights have been met or not. These people put in countless volunteer hours and time out of their lives above and beyond what their normal daily duties are to make sure that these victims have a place to turn if they don't feel like their rights have been honored. So I personally thank each and every one of you for what you have committed to the cause, for what you have committed to the task, and for serving on the board. I know District Attorney Ken Kratz has had an opportunity as District Attorney to be on the front lines of making sure that these laws are enforced in his given county. Every District Attorney's office has the obligation to make sure that victims get the notices and the opportunity to appear in court and to know what's going on during the various proceedings. It is a time-consuming matter, but a matter that I know that each and every one of them knows is incredibly valuable. I see District Attorney Brian Blanchard from Dane County has joined us as well. It's one more example of the commitment that district attorneys and other law enforcement professionals across the state have made to crime victims. On their behalf, for a few minutes, I would invite District Attorney Ken Kratz, the chairman of the board, to please come forward and share a few comments with us.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General, and good afternoon. As the District Attorney of Calumet County, in a small rural county representing not only citizens of Calumet County but of surrounding counties, I once in a while have an opportunity to have other judges come visit our county and other judges to see how we do things in rural Calumet County. Recently, I was in a court hearing with a visiting judge, and the visiting judge was doing an initial appearance. A domestic violence defendant charged with battery had made his first appearance before the visiting judge and told the judge, unrepresented, I wish to plead guilty. I wish to take responsibility for my actions, for the defendant's actions, and I just wish to get this case over with. This judge, who doesn't normally appear in front of me, recognized the defendant for being forthright, recognized the defendant for taking responsibility, and accepted this person's guilty plea to the charge of domestic violence battery. When the defendant reiterated that he just wanted to get it over with, this judge, to my surprise, said to the defendant, no, we're not going forward today with the sentencing because you aren't the only part of this criminal justice system. There is a victim in this case. And although it's the initial appearance, that victim has every opportunity to be here. That victim has every opportunity to make a statement, whether it's an oral statement or a written statement for me to consider. But more than that, that victim has a right to hear the words that I'm about to say to you. That, my friends, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is not a change in the law. That's what we've done for the past 10 years to change the culture. Our criminal justice system in Wisconsin, as the Attorney General has mentioned, has always been at the forefront of crime victims' rights. But for that judge from another county to, in front of me, in front of the chairman of the Crime Victims' Rights Board, to say, there's another piece to this puzzle, there's somebody else who deserves to be here, and we are going to have that sentencing hearing. But I'm going to hear from that victim, and that victim is going to get to participate. That victim no longer is just going to have things happen to her in this system. That victim is going to be an integral part of this system. We've had members of the Crime Victims' Rights Board now for 10 years. Myself and Chief McGee are founding members, and people ask me whether I don't have anything better to do for 10 years but to volunteer my time for this. On the Crime Victims' Rights Board, what we try to instill is the same things that I do in the courtroom every day when I represent the rights of crime victims. We tell victims, we ensure victims now from the justice standpoint, as a prosecutor, as a law enforcement officer, as a judge, that it's not my case, it's your case. And because it's your case, I want to hear from you. I want you to confer with me. I want you to have notice of all these hearings. I want to ensure that all of these rights are afforded to you. Our Crime Victims' Rights hearings that we've had for 10 years are an opportunity for citizens, for crime victims who feel that they have not had their rights ensured or all of the rights given to them, to make an appearance before the five of us. And although most of the times the respondents have lawyers with them, and it can feel like a very intimidating process, we try not to make it so. We try to ask questions on behalf of those crime victims. We try to ask those questions that they haven't been able to, or that they've been afraid to ask those justice professionals. We take our time to make sure that those victims have an opportunity to be heard. And at the end of the day, when the process has been explained to them, when those victims feel that their rights have been ensured, and when those victims finally say to us, you know what, Mr. Chairman, for the first time, I feel that I've been heard. I feel that I've had a voice, and I don't know how this hearing is going to come out, but just being heard can make all the difference in the world. We recognize, as those members of the Crime Victims' Rights Board, that these people aren't ever going to remember what we said. But you know what? They're also never going to forget how we made them feel. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why we keep doing this work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. As I stand here watching Ken and listening to him speak, of course, I look past him and I see standing next to the bust of Fighting Robert LaFollette, Fighting Bob.